Recently, I uploaded a remote music collaboration video with a couple of my friends, which you can check out at this link over here if you haven't already seen it. Some of you have been asking us how we put this together because you're interested in making a similar kind of collaboration too. The good news for you is that it's really not all that complicated, but I completely understand the feeling of being at a loss when you first try to get started, especially if you've never done anything like this before. For myself, I've been doing drum covers for a couple of years now, but this was the first time I was trying a collaboration on this scale, and when I first had the idea, I was pretty clueless too. So let me try and break this down for you guys into 5 steps, and hopefully that helps some of you. Point number 1 is to have a vision in mind of what you're trying to achieve. Of course, you need to decide on the song that you're doing for the project. Is that an original song? Is it a cover song? If you're covering something, are you referring to a track that someone already did, or are you coming up with a whole new arrangement? If you are coming up with a new arrangement, do you as the person coordinating this project have a very specific idea in mind of what you're trying to accomplish, or are you going to let all your friends just improvise their own parts and basically come up with the song independently? Do you have an idea of what instruments you want in the project? Is it an acoustic song? Is it going to be a full band song? Is it going to be a string ensemble? Are there specific instruments you want to highlight or feature in the project? And basically, what is the goal of this collaboration? In my case, for In Christ Alone, what I was trying to accomplish was just to bring together a bunch of musicians from different local churches. I wanted the arrangement to be relatively simple, nothing too technical or complicated, but something worshipful that we might play in an ordinary Sunday service. And I also didn't want it to be too complicated vocally because I'm no vocal arranger and I didn't want to have to deal with SATB parts and coming up with the choir harmonies or something crazy like that. So I wanted to keep it simple and also keep more of a focus on the instrumentalists who are involved. What's your idea? Point 2 is to get your team together. This one can happen concurrently with the next few points, but it's really important to decide who you want to be working with on your project. Unless you're writing a very specific arrangement and working with flexible and adaptable sessionists, whoever you involve is going to play a huge role in how your final product is going to sound like. Besides just being able to play, it's preferable that you get people involved in your project who are able to record their audio as well as able to film themselves comfortably. Now again, this really depends on point 1 because it's up to your vision of how you want the project to sound and look. Do you want everyone to have very high quality audio and very high quality video? That's going to change the people that you can ask for your project. It's really up to what you are trying to look for. For this project, I wasn't too concerned about the video quality because I knew each individual frame was going to be quite small in the end. So the range of quality of videos is really quite something. There are phone camera shots and there are 4K video shots, and it really didn't bother me because I wasn't after that polished video look. I did, however, want people to be able to record with mics or through an audio interface so that the sound quality would be decent. One thing I would recommend you doing is at least decide on what frame rate you want your video to be in and get everyone to record at the same frame rate just so it makes the final product look a little bit smoother. Besides getting musicians for each part in your band lineup, you will need to consider a few other roles. You need someone to arrange the music. You may need someone to help arrange the vocals, especially if you're getting more than one singer involved. You'll definitely need someone to help with the audio mix, which is basically taking all the recorded sounds from each individual person and putting them together to create a nice final sounding track. And you'll also need someone to handle the video editing. For my project, I knew that I could handle the video editing, I could probably do a passable sound mix, and I knew I would definitely need help with the arrangement because I'm a drummer and I don't really play a melodic instrument, so chords are a little bit out of my league. With that in mind, the first thing I did was to talk to my husband Daniel, who's also a guitar player, and I asked him if he'd be willing to help me come up with a chord structure for the song. Then I talked to my friend Reng Kang, who's a bassist as well as an audio engineer, and asked him if he would be willing to help with the mixing. So once I had those 2 roles down, I could relax a bit and not be so stressed about having to handle everything myself. If you know you can't handle any one of these 3 areas, I highly suggest getting a friend who is to help you out, because otherwise it's going to show up as a roadblock later on in your collaboration. Point 3 is to write out the rough structure of your song. Let me get on the computer and show you guys how I got started on the structure of the song In Christ Alone. Alright, this is the Word document that I wrote out when I was first planning In Christ Alone. When I first wrote this out, there were no chords because I don't really do very well with chords. So I just wrote out the lyrics of the song, I listened to a couple versions, and I decided how many bars I wanted at each section. For example, on the left over here, you can see that I have an 8-bar intro. The verse is 16 bars. I have 1 bar of this extra space in between verse 1 and verse 2. I have 8 bar of the re-intro. Verse 3 is 16 bars. And then I have an 8-bar interlude. Verse 4 is repeated at the second half. And then there's a 7-bar outro. So I had this rough outline in mind, and then I wrote out which instruments I wanted to take the lead at each section. For example, I wanted the keys to take the main intro over here, and the acoustic guitar would take the first part of verse 1, the keys will take the re-intro, the second interlude here is a lead guitar melody, I want the marching beat for the first half of verse 3, and the outro will stop on the final chord. I took this rough idea and I brought it to Daniel and I asked him to help come up with a chord structure, which is what you see written out over here, adding the chords to the lyrics. And we figured out how to do the up key over here. I wrote out the melody notes for the up key, and this part was a sort of quiet pullback in the piano. So you can see that there's an overall structure, and this was what I sent to all the musicians who were taking part in the collaboration. Point 4 is to record a guide track. You can have written out the most elaborate structure in your Word document with every single chord change, your BPM, and your bar counts, and it'll still be really difficult to get people on the same page when that's all they're looking at. There's a small caveat to this point. If you're doing a cover that is highly based on an existing song, you don't actually need to record a new guide track. You can just use that song as the basis for everyone else to record their parts over and compile it just like I did in some of my previous collaborations like Juno, for example. However, if you're doing your own arrangement of a song, you definitely need to come up with a guide track for reference for the rest of your band. The guide track doesn't have to be very complicated or high quality at all. All I did was grab my mobile phone, turn on a metronome, and I got Daniel to play the chords on acoustic guitar, and I just sang the rough vocal melody. I really highly recommend recording your guide track to a metronome so that whenever the rest of your band is recording, they can put that into their DAW or digital audio workstation, and it'll be so much easier to turn on the metronome there and they'll be able to record their parts in time. If you want to check out a little bit more of an in-depth guide on how we did that, and also listen to my slightly wonky singing, you can check out my buddy Renkang's video. He's doing a series of tutorials on how he approaches putting together tracks for this collaboration mix. After you're done with your guide track, you're ready for point number 5, which is to get everyone to come up with their parts and put it all together. Now I know this is definitely more easily said than done, and different people probably have a different workflow, so let me just try and share with you guys how we did it for this particular project. Since I came up with the arrangement, I knew roughly the dynamic level I wanted for different parts of the song and knew how I wanted to express that on the drums. So I grabbed my guide track with just the rough vocal melody and then I tracked some drums over it, paying attention to how I wanted certain parts to be louder or softer. After that, I combined the drum track with the existing guide track, so now we have the rough vocals, the rough acoustic guitar, and the drum parts. I took that and I passed it to Daniel, got him to track the electric guitar parts over it, and then we combined those again and passed it to the rest of the band to record over. You may or may not need to do a kind of back and forth process in some of the parts, for example, sending it to someone, getting them to record a draft, sending it back, compiling that, and then sending it to the next person to record their part over, doing the same, getting all these draft versions, and then letting them hear the sort of compiled mix or rough mix, and asking them if they want to change anything that they've written. It definitely takes a bit more time, but it'll make your song a little more cohesive because the different members of your band can respond to what someone else has already recorded. They will definitely need to record a video together with the audio for the final version of whatever it is they're playing, so just make sure they're getting a video takedown with whatever audio they're recording if they're going to use that for the final version. You should get at least one video and one audio track from everyone in your band, and then after that, it's up to whoever is doing the audio mix to come up with the final sound, and whoever is doing the video editing to come up with the final video. After that, you just need to put the audio files into that video, and you're done. Obviously, that's a much longer process than one sentence can explain, but I'll let you figure that out for yourselves. I'll let Renkang continue to elaborate on his process for the audio mix, but if you're interested in finding out how I put the video together, just let me know in the comments. If not, I hope this has been a good guide to get you started on your own collaborations. See you guys in the next one.